Hey, Kaiser, to start the show, I have a weird question for you, man. How's your ankle feeling?
You know, I rolled it just watching the game Friday. I was sitting in my chair, it just tweaked it, and I'll be out for 8 months.
Um,
Apparently,
what, what word has it that the Charlotte Hornets are having open tryouts starting tomorrow, man? I think I might go out there tomorrow, man.
yeah. Just go ahead. Yeah, I mean, because if you're ready, you're just ready when you come in the game. You don't
You
need
just ready,
to,
right?
you don't need to go to
Forget
practice.
training camp,
You don't
you
need to
know,
practice. You don't need to do none of that. Just get in the game and you're ready.
just ready. Hello everyone. Welcome to this latest installment of Under Construction. I'm your host today, Jamal the Angry Black Fan Darby, and to my right, as always, Mr. Kaza Sose, man. If you didn't get it, the Charlotte Hornets have just limped their way into an 0-4 record last week. So just wanted to check on everybody's health because apparently the Charlotte Hornets' health has failed them the last couple of weeks or so here. A lot to get into today. A ton of Charlotte Hornets talk, man. Rodney is obviously out living his best life on the West Coast. Hopefully, we see him next week. Rodney, enjoy your time, sir. But for now, like I said, man, we're just gonna get into it, man. A ton of Hornets talk today, man. Kaza, let me tell you, brother. For now, I'm not being optimistic anymore, and not for really good reason, not for basketball stuff, not even for injury concerns, just for damn luck. I, it, I, is it just me? Is this team soft, or do we just have the worst luck? Before we get into real basketball stuff, man.
Actually, no. I think we're seeing this all across the NBA with
Yeah,
this
no doubt.
press schedule. I think that's all it is. Athletes are fine-tuned machines. Their bodies are very used to certain things and doing things a certain way. And when you deviate from that even a little bit, these are the results you get. The Hornets are. I mean, it's hard to say. Well, we don't have our best players. No one has their best players. Now, granted, the Nets were healthier than the Hornets on Friday, but we lost to the Hawks, and they were just as banged up as we were. So it's unfortunate. I think the NBA should. I mean, I don't foresee a 72 game compressed schedule again next season,
Yeah.
but if they do, they need to take a long, hard look at these injuries all of these teams are having. And, I think the thing with the Hornets, though, it's all the same injury.
Right. Right.
I mean, except for LaMelo Ball's wrist fracture, which was such a freak injury. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, just a freak injury. But to
I
have,
mean, but it seems like all of them are freak injuries. That's what I'm getting. That's like the luck we have is like
yeah,
great. Look at Gordon Hayward's injury, man. I know, people are going to say, oh, he's injury prone and fragile. But the dude came down on somebody's foot. PJ Washington, he came down on somebody's foot.
Yeah.
That's random stuff, y'all. That's not how, it doesn't matter how in shape you are and how much you work out. Those are random injuries that just continue to happen. And one thing I wanted to point out, man, there was a memo sent out by an anonymous general manager, a memo sent to the league basically saying we're in survival mode because of all the injuries. And it's so, again, man, it's just not the Hornets going through this, man. This is a league-wide thing, with this compressed schedule, man. But, again, we just got to fight through it, man. But enough of that, man. Let's get into basketball talk. So last week when I was trying to be optimistic –
Me too. 2-2 seems like a dream.
A distant dream right now. I reluctantly said 3-1. I just knew we were going to beat Atlanta. Now, one thing I want to make sure I'm clear about what I say is Atlanta was a bad loss, man.
Yes.
I serve no excuses for that loss. We were fairly healthy. We were healthier than we were the other three games. That's a game you don't lose, man. Am I wrong in saying that? What do you think about the Atlanta loss?
No, yeah, that was of the three losses or all four losses. The Atlanta one was the worst, mainly because that was a game. I wasn't actually. I had that pegged as a loss originally, but when I see the injury report and I see that Atlanta
half their team is out.
Isn't everyone either. I thought, okay, it's an even game. And if you look at that game, the Hornets had the game won. They just did. It was just some questionable decision making late in the game, which is odd to say about the Hornets considering they are literally the most clutch team in the NBA. But 2 bad turnovers, and Terry Rozier takes a shot that I'm not mad at him for taking that shot. I mean, Terry Rozier makes that shot all the time, but he gave up a better shot in order to try and force the refs to make a call on a really hard falling out of bounds 3-pointer, and the refs at that point had decided they were ready to go home.
Yeah, so, and an interesting nugget about that last play, man. JB was asked about that particular play after the game, and his simple answer was he trusts Terry Rozier. Now that doesn't, which you can't really fault him for saying that. I just wonder if JB himself even said, "Damn, man, I wish we would have got a better shot." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Rozier actually had an open lane to the. I mean, I'd rather tie the game up in that situation. And the thing is, I mean, it's hindsight. Rozier, he watches the film and he wishes he could have that shot back.
But what do I always say about hindsight glasses? They fit every single time.
Every single time. Perfect vision somehow.
Perfect vision. 2020.
I didn't want to say it, but Chris Rogers said it, so now I'm going to say it. Man, Devontae Graham, you got to tighten it up, bro.
Yeah, no, I was going to get to it. No doubt, man. Yeah.
Some questionable decisions in that Atlanta game. We saw a game of the previous week that we lost. I'm not going to say we lost because of Devontae Graham, but he made another questionable late game decision that may have cost the Hornets. That game was, and especially considering when Miles Bridges murdered Clint Capella on live television, the Hornets were up at that point with a minute 40 something left. You would think the game is over. There's no way. Even Eric Collins said, "There's no way the Hawks can come back from that."
Now, let's be specific. I think the Hawks were down 10 at that point.
I don't know if they were down double digits, but the Hornets. I remember thinking the Hornets should win this. I
know at some point in the fourth quarter we were up 10, maybe not. Right. And look, here's 2 kind of hot takey subjects I wanted to kind of present to you today, man. The first one is the Devontae Graham situation. Now, I did have a bit of a hot take on Twitter, man, and I'm thinking to myself, it's possible that Devontae Graham at this point, he might be losing himself some money, man, because his contract is up, man, and you kind of look at other free agent point guards around the league, and you look at the performance this week when we really needed Devontae Graham. Let me be clear about something. I don't want to sound like I'm some Devontae Graham basher. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate this dude for what he's been for a second round pick, but the facts are the facts, man. Low shooting percentage all season. This week when we really needed him, man, he's made some bad turnovers in the fourth quarter. Not really stepping up the way we want him to this week. Kaza, is he losing himself some money?
Possibly. He may have to take a Kemba deal. Remember when Kemba's first deal he took with the Hornets? Kemba was still developing. He wasn't quite Kemba. And then he ended up outplaying that contract. Devontae Graham might end up having to do the same thing. The thing is, though, is that from a sheer number standpoint, Devontae Graham is the same player he was last season.
Right. Is that necessarily a good thing?
Yeah, necessarily a good thing. I mean, he took a huge leap last season, and then this season, now granted, COVID, injuries, compressed schedule, all that is a factor. But at the same time, look at a guy like Miles Bridges, who has made this huge jump, and since dunking on Capella, and he's got this national spotlight, boy, has he showed up. Yeah. So the thing with Devontae Graham is that he needs to add another dimension to his game offensively. Because if Devontae Graham's shot is falling, boy, is it falling. Yeah. The Hornets are on their way to a win. If his shot's not falling,
it's a struggle.
Then it's because he can't score inside. He's got a decent mid-range game, and then he has to rely on facilitation to make an impact. And the Hornets are too injured, really, for him to do that.
And you bring up a good point, man, because he is a decent facilitator, but how much facilitating can you do when you pass to a wide open Caleb Martin? They're bricking threes every time they shoot the ball.
I want to talk about the Martin twins in a little bit because
we will. We'll get
talk about them. We'll talk about Bismack. We got
Hey, listen, we got plenty of Hornets time today. We're gonna get to all of it. But the second thing I wanted to bring up to you, man, was Miles Bridges in particular. First, let's talk about the dunk. Number one, is that the dunk of the year? Easily, right? Okay.
I don't even. It's not as much as a debate as people think it is between Anthony Edwards dunk and Miles Bridges.
Yeah. Now, here's what I wanted to break up in particular with that dunk. Number one, I mean, listen, I scared the hell out of my dog when I saw that dunk, man. I was just because it looked like you remember NBA Jam when they just kept going up. Like it literally looked like a video game. Like I was like, damn, he's gonna really try to dunk this, man. But after that dunk, man, again, this is hindsight. Let me be very clear. This is clearly hindsight. In hindsight, if I'm JB, I'll call a timeout. Now, I'm not criticizing JB. Here's what I'm getting by this. That dunk was so crazy, everybody loses their mind except the Hawks.
Yeah.
I have to give the Hawks a lot of credit.
Capella just ran down. He just got back on defense. Got back on offense.
Right. Miles Bridges throws it down. The Hawks come right back down and hit a three, and they go on a little mini run to eventually take the lead, man. And again, I'm not criticizing JB, and this is all hindsight, but I do think that the game kind of took a bad turn after that dunk. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to sound silly and blaming Miles Bridges for turning the game around with the dunk. No, that's not what I'm getting at. I am observing that it looks like we lost a little bit of focus after that. What do you think about that?
No, I agree. It's weird. I felt it watching the game. Like,
look, real quick. Even Eric Collins was like, "In the game, in the
game. No way, Hawks can come back from that." It was weird watching the game. The Hornets got no momentum boost from that play, whereas Atlanta, just for them, it was just another play. Okay, right. Clint Capella's dead, but he can go back and play offense. So, and credit to them and their coaching staff for saying, "Hey, it's just 2 points." That's essentially what the Hawks did. It's just 2 points. Let's go down and score 3, and essentially they've made up a point, and they traded off some momentum to make up a point, which in late games is almost as equal as important. So. That's a weird thing. If the Hornets were full strength, I don't expect that to happen. That's what happens when you got role players in clutch time situations like that.
Right. Absolutely.
I want to say this real quick about the dunk, because Chris Rogers asked if it was better than the windmill. Miles Bridges had I don't know if you guys remember against Philly early in the season, but he had a crazy windmill off the ball pass. But first of all, it's against Clint Capella, one of the better defenders in the league.
Maybe the best shot blocker in the league.
Yeah. Second, he took off from the dotted line. Anthony Edwards took off from baseline, which is only a couple feet from the basket. The dotted line is like 12 feet away. And then he piped it with his right hand. Miles Bridges is left-handed, y'all. In fact, when he went up, I remember thinking, he's not going to make that. He's too far away.
Same, right.
And so to take off from the dotted line with your offhand and pipe on Clint Capella and grab the rim, which a lot of times when we see guys dunk that far away, they just throw it in. No,
that was a real dunk.
Yeah, that was violence. You know, people be like, "Oh, you woke up and chose violence." Miles Bridges chose violence on that dunk. This is the dunk of the year. I mean, Anthony Edwards, great dunk because aesthetically, he jumped out the building and dunked on some guy who probably won't even be in the G League next season. Give Miles Bridges his props.
And I will say this, man. Sometimes I say this all the time. Sometimes you just gotta give the other team credit, man. As much as I hate giving Atlanta sports any credit, man, Nate McMillan has done a fantastic job with them so far, man. They played like they wanted the game more.
They made a pretty good trade at the trade deadline. Rajon Rondo for Lou Collins. Lou Collins was the reason the Hawks won that game.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah, Lou Williams. I'm thinking
yeah.
Derek Collins. Yeah, Lou Williams won that game because he did Lou Williams stuff. He made the big shots,
And we didn't stop him.
no, and we need a Lou Williams. We really have one in Malik Monk, I think, but I mean, he's not playing; he's injured. So
Right.
I think that ended up being the difference.
Yeah, and then the next game, man, we took an L to the Los Angeles Lakers, man. But that's one we don't like moral victories around here. But if we're counting moral victories, I'll count that as a moral victory because that's when injuries really just showed its ugly head, man. I want to say something about that game in particular, man. There were some fans who came online and was like, I don't care how injured we are. We should have won. They don't have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Let me tell y'all something. The Los Angeles Lakers are a championship caliber team. They are still, but if not Brooklyn, 1A, 1B, 1 or 2, you can argue about that later. They are one of the deepest teams in the NBA. Dennis Schroeder is a borderline all-star. I don't want to hear anything about we should have won and blah, blah, blah. Both teams have injuries on that side, man, but I believe our injuries affected us more than the Lakers did. What do you think about that Lakers game, man?
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers are the best defensive team in the league, even without LeBron and AD at the same time. The Hornets are like 14th in the league in offense. I mean, I don't think that outcome was ever really in doubt. I just don't. Even with LeBron and AD out, the Hornets don't have enough. We don't have enough firepower. We barely have enough firepower when we're healthy. We rely on good shooting and moving the ball around in order to score. That's
we don't have that. We don't have that guy that says, "Hey, man, go score 35 for us." The Hornets don't have that guy.
No, we don't. I mean, and sometimes we'll get like Miles Bridges scored 33, but that's not. We can't depend. Although I think that is a bit of an ascension for Miles Bridges this season. We can't depend on Miles Bridges to get 33 points every game and Terry Rozier to go 27 and 10. We just don't have enough firepower for a team like the Lakers.
Yeah.
People forget that a guy like Alex Caruso, he had 4 threes. Right. I mean, that's really kind of the difference in the game. We don't have anybody that can just hit 4 threes as consistently as a guy like Alex Caruso. We have streaky shooters. We have guys like Devontae Graham who he'll either hit like 6 or 8 or 1 or 2.
Right.
That's the difference in the Lakers and the Hornets. I'm not mad at that loss anyway. I don't think anybody realistically had that as a win.
And not to mention, man, we don't have our main guy, Terry Rozier, for that game, along with Monk and Hayward and LaMelo and all that other stuff, man. But one thing I did want to talk about with this game in particular, and this made me smile just a bit, man. So every 10 minutes in the Hornets group before the trade deadline, Andre Drummond's name was mentioned every single day of the week. Centers. Andre Drummond, let's see, 4 points, 12 rebounds, nothing to sniff at, but got outplayed by Bismack Biyombo. We're not going to spend too much time talking about Andre Drummond because he doesn't play for the Charlotte Hornets. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that all that glitters is not gold all the time. And yes, the Hornets most certainly need an upgrade for center. That is obvious. Let's put that out there right now. But I just want to let people know it doesn't propel us to that championship contender that some think we are, man. You get what I'm saying? The Lakers are the Lakers for a reason. They showed their depth. This is why I'm telling people, slow down a bit when you're clamoring for other teams. I don't know.
People forget he got literally straight waived by the Cleveland Cavs. They literally lost money. They didn't want him on the team so much. They lost money.
Right. They still got to pay him.
Yeah. They were like, you know what? Just get the hell out of here. We'll take the cap hit before you clear waivers. So I was not saying Andre Drummond is like a bad player or anything.
Right.
It's just that he can contribute.
And look, and if we somehow nab him in free agency, I still won't be mad at it.
I wouldn't be mad at all. I just think that he knows he could contribute more to a Lakers team than he could to a Hornets team, and people will be like, "How could he could not contribute more to a Hornets team?" That is in need of a center. The truth is that he can go to LA and have a 4-point game and get outplayed by Biz, and the Lakers still win.
That's the difference.
He comes to Charlotte. He can't play. He can't play like that, because then it's like we might as well try to Bismack or me out there at the center position. Plus, he comes. If he comes here, he's not an offensive option. After that game, Andre Drummond spoke about how poor his offense was. Obviously, that's a focus for him. We don't need offensive-minded centers. We'll talk about this in a minute with Vernon Carey Jr., but the Hornets need centers like Good Bismack, the guy that scored 10 and 12. That's what the Hornets need. So, like I said, if Andre Drummond comes here in the offseason and he's cheap, though, then by all means, stick him in the 5 and be like, look, just get rebounds and play defense. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, and it was a game, where Kyle Kuzma led the Lakers in scoring with 24 points. And my point is, if Kyle Kuzma is on this team, he's one of the best players on this team. He's the 4th or 5th option with the Lakers. And I was just so tired of seeing fans be like, oh man, we should have won, and saying that, not taking how hard we're hit with injuries. And it's not, I don't want to seem like he's using it as an excuse, but there's a lot of validity to it. Mm-hmm. James Borrego is the coach of this team. He'll be the first to say we offer no excuses. But at the same time, when literally 60% of your scoring is out, it's hard to win, man.
Yeah, it is. The truth of the matter is that the injuries caught up to us. You can only go so far when your best players are not playing, and there's not a huge separation of talent. And you got guys like the Martin twins that are getting major minutes and have a lot of decision making when they're on the floor. You can only go so far. It's unfortunate, but I mean, I'm seeing a lot of good things from the guys that are stepping up that make me excited. And I really hate to be one of those next season guys, because there might not even be a next season for all we know. But having said that, Jalen McDaniels, we talked about this last week, has an epiphany of some sort. So like, if I pass the ball, they'll pass it back and I'll be open and I can shot. So we've seen big games from him. Miles Bridges is starting to live up to, these flashes of potential he's had his first 3 seasons. We might as well talk about Vernon Carey Jr.
Hold on. We're going to get to him. That's definitely a hot topic we want to get to as far as Vernon Carey goes, man. Real quickly, I wanted to ask you about, I think I may have mentioned this last week, man, but I do want to bring it up again. Dog, is there any reason Cody Zeller is in the doghouse right now? And let me tell you why I'm specifically asking that, man. There are some instances where you can look at Cody and you say, you know what, man, he really doesn't offer the interior defense that we need. He really doesn't offer the rebounding and that toughness that we need down low. And let me know if I'm off base, man. But in the last month or so, I don't see Cody really struggling with that coming off the bench. I thought coming off the bench, man, he played pretty damn well in those regards. I didn't see those struggles. And so that just kind of leads me to question, what's up with him and JB, man?
Yeah, man, it's weird because JB has said before, he wants guys that are gonna scrap and fight and try and win. And Cody Zeller may be of limited talent, but when I think of guys on the Charlotte Hornets that will scrap and fight every minute they're on the floor, Cody Zeller is the first guy that comes to my mind.
What do we say about Cody? He cheats death every game.
Every game. This cat be getting elbowed in the neck, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, and he's out there and he plays the game the best way that he knows how. Granted, I mean, he's not like he's never going to live up to being the number 4 pick. Which is which is an argument that I hate anyway. I hate when people say, "Oh, he should be this because of where he got picked." They don't pick themselves. That was a weird draft.
And on top of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and anyone who says they knew who the best people are going to be in that draft, you're lying. You're lying. Yes, please stop lying. So, and at the time, the Cody Zeller pick, and I think me and you were we might have been watching that draft at Selwyn Pub, maybe.
I believe so.
Party, and people booed when that pick was made, but the media was like, "That's a pretty good pick for the Charlotte Hornets." So,
actually, I was at the arena and I ran the hell out the arena because they started booing so loud, and I was like, "Man, let me hurry get the hell out of here."
So yeah, Cody's never going to live up to that, but I mean, that guy will literally give his life on the court, and so it's puzzling to me that Borrego that doesn't move the needle for Borrego. I'm not sure if it's the play because he can't be that much worse than Biz. I mean,
he's not worse than Biz. Yeah, let's be clear.
Biz doesn't offer a better defensive presence. Biz is a better rebounder because he has better timing than Zeller does on the boards,
and a slightly better rim protector. I'll say that much.
Exactly. Yeah, Biz makes. If Bismack was Cody's size, oh my God, the dude would be incredible.
Or if he had his coordination.
Yeah, or if he could catch, if he had bigger hands, or But I don't know what's going on with Cody Zeller and JB.
Remains to be seen. And look, and we'll move on from that topic, man. But it feels like more and more it's probably bye-bye for Cody, man, because if he's not cracking this rotation, especially with Vernon Carey seemingly being on the rise, there's probably not going to be any fit for him going forward, even into next season.
Well, Cody is gonna, the center market has kind of dried up. Teams don't like to pay a lot for big 7-footers anymore. They just don't. I mean, look at the decline of Hassan Whiteside. He goes from nearly a max contract to making a couple $1 million a year because teams aren't looking for that.
To not playing. Let's be clear.
Right, yeah, that's true. So it could be the Hornets might make Cody a cheap offer, and if he's smart, he'll accept it. And Cody coming off the bench, I think would be great for the Hornets if Nick Richards and Vernon Carey aren't quite where they need to be. Plus, I mean, it's always good to have a third center. Hopefully Bismack's gone.
I don't. There's just no reason at this point, man. I don't see it. And even with coming into this season, I think he was literally the last option. Seriously, I think the Hornets offered. I think they had a pecking order of who they wanted as far as free agent centers goes, and Biz was the absolute last option.
Man, I would have rather had old Dwight Howard than Bismack.
That's a strong statement coming from us.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when they made that move, we were kind of puzzled, like, why bring Bismack Biyombo back? I still don't get that.
But I'm telling you, I'm thinking he was the last guy.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Gotta be. Like we just said, Bismack, there are some things that he does well defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of coach JB is, he's good. He's a defensive-minded coach, so I think a lot of times he feels like, from a matchup perspective, Bismack can offer a few things. But man, I don't know.
Yeah, moving on, man. So we also took another L to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which was it was another disappointing loss, man. But again, really, really hit hard by the injury bug, and not surprisingly to anyone, man. A game where we really struggled to score. Devontae Graham was 5 for 16, 5 for 13 from three-point land. Terry Rozier, 9 for 20, not too bad, man. I kind of wish he would have took more than 20 shots. We probably need him to. But here's where we struggle, man. The bench, other than Cody Zeller and Brad Wanamaker, gave us Cody Martin 0 for 5. Caleb Martin didn't hit a shot. Jalen McDaniels actually struggled that game, man. Let me just flat out ask you, was this loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers a disappointing loss to you?
Yeah, because Cleveland's not that good.
Right.
I mean, they're not. Even Curry said it during the broadcast. On paper, you should win this. On paper, you're a better team. You should win this game. The Hornets should have won that game. The difference was the stats you mentioned. When you give the Martin twins almost 11 shots between them, they make what, one
Right.
You're not
You're
going to
not
win.
gonna beat anybody.
Yeah, you're just not. And then Kevin Love had a throwback game against us. Kevin Love he's still Kevin Love. People forget Kevin Love was like literally a superstar in Minnesota.
Listen, Kevin Love had a season where he was putting up 30 and 10, man.
Yeah, yes,
like, people forget, bro.
Yeah, people forget. Because after playing with LeBron James, his role kind of got deregulated. But I mean, he can still put up shots like we saw again, the other night. So I mean, that's a disappointing loss, especially when Devontae Graham didn't even have a great game, and he's like the leading scorer for that team.
And I thought that, this was a game where, and we've seen, especially with young teams, man, when the shots are not falling, they're not as engaged on the defensive end. And that's kind of what I noticed for this game. Again, we scored 90 points in this game. That's pretty damn low, especially for us, man. We don't struggle to score that much, man. The Cleveland Cavaliers, Colin Sexton didn't even play. Torian Prince of all people, nobody guarded him all night. So, and I just want to know, were you kind of noticing the same thing, man? Like a lot of soaking and bad body language was kind of translated to not playing defense.
Yeah, and we wasted a good Miles Bridges performance. He had 20 points, shot 4 for 8 from 3 for that game.
Yeah.
Actually, the Hornets actually.
Let me cut you off. Time out real quick. I want to quickly point something out about Miles Bridges. By the end of this season, we could see Miles Bridges be a 50, 40, 90 guy.
He's right.
How incredible is that, man?
Yeah, he's right on the cusp of that. I don't think he'll quite get it, but
close enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, the boost in efficiency has been incredible for Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges was a starter last season. So a lot of people are like, man, Miles Bridges ain't starting this season. And I think that's just because JB wanted to experiment with PJ being able to play the 4 and the 5 with Gordon Hayward coming to the team. That doesn't leave any room for Miles Bridges to play the 3. I don't think Miles is suited to play the 4. Athletically, he can. In fact, hot take, Miles Bridges is our best rim defender. If he's in the paint, and somebody's coming in there, he's going to out-jump him every time.
I'll push back just a tiny little bit, only because PJ is actually having, to me, a very good defensive year. He's struggling shooting the ball. That's obvious. But I think when called upon, when JB has put him at 5, defensively and on the backboards, he hasn't been bad, man.
No, everyone likes to talk about his 42 minutes and 0 points, but he had like 12 rebounds and 3 blocks that game.
Right.
Really, all the Hornets need from somebody who is playing the 5.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not that worried about.
And just like you said, it's not anything I'm worried about going forward with PJ. Like, man, so it's a sophomore slump, man, and that's all it is. And this is a crazy season with everything that's going on, man. I'll wait until next season to really properly judge whether PJ is regressing or not.
Right. Absolutely. But yeah, the Cleveland game, man, that's just one you gotta win.
Yeah.
Because especially coming off a bad loss to Atlanta, and then you kind of concede to the Lakers. I feel like the Hornets did that. That's why Terry Rozier didn't play. His knee's a little sore, and coach is like, we're probably not gonna beat the Lakers anyway. So why don't you have a rest?
It's funny you said that, man, because I was arguing with a friend of mine, and he was like, man, the Hornets are just soft. And I'm like, dude, there's injuries across the board. But when I look at Terry Rozier not playing against the Lakers, I have to wonder, like, dude, could you have really given it a go, man? Like, come on, dude. Like,
yeah.
And again, I don't know these players, man. I don't, I'm not a trainer or anything like that. But the optics did really look good as far as they're concerned.
They didn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the way when you're being affected this heavily by injuries, and it's because of the schedule, you got to pick your battles sometimes, and I think that's what JB did. Have a night off, Terry. So
yeah, no doubt. And moving on, man. The last game of this week was against the Eastern Conference All-Star Brooklyn Nets, who where LaMarcus Aldridge just out of the blue retired. But, Godspeed to him, man. He's got to take care of your health, man, especially with a heart condition. So, shout out to LaMarcus Aldridge, man. But a game with James Harden didn't play, didn't matter. I don't even think they really got a really big game from Kyrie Irving. But a game that was highlighted by the Hornets' new superstar. No, I'm just joking. By Vernon Carey's first start, man. Give me your initial thoughts on Vernon Carey's first start.
That's exactly what you want from a guy that you give their opportunity. You say, okay, this is it. This is what you've been playing your whole life for. Go out there and show and prove. And he did that. But it wasn't perfect. I want to say this.
Oh man, you just hating, man.
Yeah, 21 points is great. 6 rebounds is not. You got out rebounded by Terry Rozier, and the Martin twins matched you in rebounds. Defensively, defense is something. It takes time.
It does, especially as a young player.
It really does. Yeah. He was slow in the rotations.
That doesn't go in, but it's an example.
That's my ESPN tail. He was slow in rotations. There was even at the play after Terry Rozier had that dunk where he took off from like the parking lot.
Right.
Terry, the Hornets all got back on transition. They start setting up their zone. For some reason, Carey is back before half court. Kyrie Irving looks over his shoulder and sees this and just waltzes in the lane.
Yeah.
Like you can't have those kind of lapses. So those are things that he just needs to work on defensively. Offensively, I mean, you got to like what you saw from the guy. He was able to cut the basket. He could step out, hit the three, although I don't expect – when teams get that scouting report, they're not going to let him do that. That three he hit, DeAndre Jordan was giving him all the space.
All the room he needed. Yeah.
That's not going to happen anymore. And so now we'll have to see, okay, how does he adjust to that? So having said that, would you start him again? Yeah. Yeah.
Why not, right?
I'd start him and bring Nick Richards off the bench.
And it's funny you said that, man, because James Borrego, after the game, he said, I'd be crazy to not give him more minutes. And, just kind of piggyback off of, some of the, I don't know, rookie struggles, so to speak. Here's a topic I obviously want to get to with Vernon Carey, man. So you have the house divided. One half saying, oh, well, he should have been out there. He definitely should have been out there. He was ready before we played the game. And then you have the other half saying, well, JB watches this guy every single day in practice. Mitch Kupchak observes these guys every single day. I'm saying JB put him out there when he finally saw he was ready. What do you say to fans who say, man, he should have been out there playing? Why JB sucks and he should have played him already? What do you say to that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I've seen this argument that if it weren't for injuries, then he wouldn't play. How? Everybody who plays the five is healthy.
Is healthy.
Except for,
nothing to do with it, right?
I mean, except for PJ is not 100%. But you still have Cody and Biz, who are our normal starting centers. Clearly, JB said, okay, I think, it could be one, we were playing Brooklyn, and he might have felt that, okay, we kind of have this pegged as a loss on the calendar. Trust me, teams do that. They say, that's a loss. Okay, this would be a good opportunity to see what Vernon Carey is because I like what I've seen out of him recently in practices because otherwise, why didn't he start Nick Richards?
Right.
Clearly, he saw something in Vernon Carey, and he felt like he could come out and produce, and he did. I also don't like this, and we talked about this a little bit with the LaMelo Ball starting saga at the beginning of the season. Remember that stupid bullshit?
Oh God! Please don't remind me. Oh,
but there's like this sentiment that players don't have to earn things anymore, and maybe because I'm about to go into my old crotchety old man.
Old grumpy
old man. But the idea that stuff should just be given to you is absolutely ridiculous. You have to earn everything. And granted, anyone who's in the Hornets Facebook group knows how much I don't like Bismack Biyombo. Like right now with me, he's like 5%. That's a running joke in the group. I don't like Bismack Biyombo, but Bismack Biyombo is he's a starter in this league. The Hornets is not the only team Bismack has started on. Started for Orlando, he started for Toronto, and now you're saying, okay, rookie who was a second. He was the 32nd pick. Just go in there, and now you're an NBA starter. We've seen a lot of players' careers get ruined by
exactly.
That. I'm not saying that Vernon Carey Jr.'s career would have been ruined if he had been starting day one, but what I'm saying is that NBA coaches.
You know what's funny, Kaiser? I just thought about something. Bismack Biyombo was in a situation when he was a rookie where we threw him into the rotation because we had no choice.
He was the number. He was the number 6, 8 pick,
right?
And we just started him, and yeah, I understand the coach. Nobody, first of all, nobody in the league is above criticism, but I can't sit here and pretend like I know more about player development than James Borrego. I can't. I absolutely can't. And then when people say things like that, it's like, oh, do you really think you know more than JB when it comes to JB sees these guys play every day.
Every day.
We don't. We have no idea what goes on the court and those scrimmages or whatnot. So it's kind of a weird take to be like, well, go ahead.
Here's the point I wanted to make, man. Let's state the obvious first. Vernon Carey is obviously more talented than Bismack Biyombo or even Cody Zeller. That is very obvious. But what I think the average fan does not understand is that when we're talking about basketball on the professional level, talent does not always equal being productive in the NBA. And it does not always mean you're ready to play the NBA game. And I think that's really hard to understand for some NBA fans. We even had an article come out recently where Mitch not recently, but actually a few months ago, Mitch Kupchak and James Borrego alluded to how much Vernon Carey and Nick Richards were overwhelmed by the NBA game, meaning they were not ready to be professionals yet. Mm-hmm. There's so many intricate things on an NBA level that you have to learn as a professional. And I don't think fans really get that.
The way Hornets fans reacted about the ascension of Christian Wood shows that we don't really understand that. Christian Wood was not NBA ready when he was in Charlotte.
He said it himself.
He went to the G League. He was mad because the Hornets sent him to the G League. Michael Jordan himself went to Christian Wood and told him, hey, here's the things you need to do to be NBA ready. Sat down with him in a film session and showed him why he wasn't NBA ready, and he wasn't able to accept that. It took, 4 seasons for him to say, oh, okay, yeah.
I get it now.
I get it now. Now he's, a valuable player in Houston. So, that's why it's really, really hard, especially the Hornets' track record for player development over the last 3 seasons has been pretty good. So who am I to challenge that? We look at Graham, Miles Bridges. Who am I to challenge that?
And not to mention, man, I look at JB's credentials so far. Greg Popovich is not going to let anybody coach under him. Let's be clear about that. Greg Popovich, who is one of the top 5 coaches in the history of this league, is not going to just select anybody to coach under him. So going forward, guys, let's trust the guy who sees the players every day. And like Kaiser said, he's not above criticism. It's okay to question some things, but to act like you know more than the man is just ridiculous.
Right. Man. As fans, I think it's okay for us to question things, but then when you start to see the bigger picture, then you go, oh, okay, well,
right.
That's why.
That's why. Right,
and,
right.
This happens all the time. This has been happening for the last 2 seasons with the Hornets. We're starting to see the bigger picture. It's just weird. It's almost like we forgot that LaMelo Ball scored 0 points in his debut. Sometimes you are just not
ready just yet.
And then when you are ready, you get your opportunity, you show and you prove, and that's what Vernon Carey Jr. did. I'd love to see him. I mean, especially considering where we are in the season, where the Hornets are as far as injuries. Just start him the rest of the season. And
yeah.
I mean,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, man, just about the game, really quick, man. You know, we competed, I think, for 3.5 quarters.
The score is bigger. It doesn't indicate the closeness of the game.
Yeah.
What it was that the Brooklyn Nets are the Brooklyn Nets. They just kind of ran away with it at the end because they have Kevin Durant and they got guys who can just do nothing but shoot threes.
Yeah, and I was gonna you kind of echo what I was gonna say, man. There's really no deep analysis to this game, man. It's just the talent just came through. That Brooklyn is obviously a more talented, better team, even without James Harden playing, man. And they showed it, man. I think now one particular I will say, I think our Achilles heel kind of showed back up in this game. Us not being able to guard the three. Joe Harris went crazy. Luabu Cabarro, however you say his name, he hit a couple of threes, man.
Just random people.
Right.
Yeah, he's out there shooting threes.
So it's okay to just give the other team credit, man. Brooklyn, they turn it on when they needed to, but I think the Brooklyn game was a very valiant effort, man.
No, absolutely. I don't believe in moral victories, but I'm not mad at the Hornets for that loss. They competed. Terry Rozier 27 and 10.
Yeah.
Miles Bridges 31 points, 33 points. Vernon Carey had 21. If I had told you that those were the numbers from the major Hornets contributors, and I didn't tell you the opponent, you would think, man, the Hornets probably won that game. And if I said, but it was against the Brooklyn Nets, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, they probably lost. So, you lost to Brooklyn. It's not a big deal. Hey, we got one off them earlier this season.
Yeah. Kudos.
Yeah.
All right, man. Next week, we have Portland today. It is important to note we get a break from Damian Lillard. He is out with a hamstring injury today. We got New York, Chicago, and Cleveland. Before you see us again, guys, Kaiser, what is your record prediction?
I think we beat Portland.
Wow, that's bold.
Yeah, I think the Hornets they're sick of losing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to come out and they're going to come out with a lot of energy against Portland. And then, with Damian Lillard sitting, he is the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah.
I think we still won.
And they've been struggling a bit, honestly. So.
Yeah, plus it's a home game. If they were playing in Portland, I probably wouldn't pick the Hornets to win because they'd have to travel all the way to Oregon. I think we lose to the Knicks. The Knicks are a little healthier than us. And although we've beaten them earlier in the season, I just think that the two situations of the teams are vastly different. New York's a little bit healthier than we are. And, they're playing with a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
That leaves Chicago and Cleveland. Those are must-win games.
But they're tricky games. Those are tricky trap games, man.
Yeah. We have to win those games because especially Cleveland, not so much. But Chicago is right in the 9th, 10th spot. We would possibly play them in a playoff game or in a play-in game, although the Hornets we would just do well to distance ourselves from teams that are below us in the standings. But Chicago is probably a little better than when we played them earlier in the season. They have Vucevic now. That's a losable game for the Hornets.
Now, it is important to know, I think Zach LaVine is hurt. I think he actually may be out a couple of games, man. If I remember correctly.
I'm going to put that as a loss, actually. I think plus it's in Chicago. The Hornets will not be back home. They'll play in New York, and then they'll play in Chicago. I'm going to peg that as a loss, and then I think we finally get back against Cleveland on the 23rd. The thing is, when you play a team that close to each other, you have fresh film. No doubt. And Cleveland was essentially full strength when we played them, so there's not going to be a huge difference on the scouting report. I think we get one back against them. I think we go 2-2 to stay at 500 and stay in the 8th seed spot.
Cool. I am going to because I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go 2-2. I think New York is a wild card. On one hand, I agree with what you said about health and them being a little healthier than we are. However, I do think we always match up very well against them. We've beaten them the last 3 or 4 times we've played them. So again, I like the matchup with New York, but we also don't know who we're getting back this week, and that's a real curveball. That's the real question mark for this entire week, man. So it's tough to really kind of break down which games we should win and we should lose, in my opinion, man. And you've done a good job of that, but I don't know if I can.
Well, you know what? The last time we played the Knicks, Julius Randle did not have a good game. I don't expect that to be the case.
Yeah, well, he had 40 last night, man. So
right, yeah, he's
trending upwards. Yeah,
it's just so hard to tell because of the.
It's hard to tell, bro. It is, man. The more and more you kind of talk me through it, man, I'm kind of agreeing with you on the Portland game, and I think we're sick of losing. I think we come out with some energy today and possibly get it done, man. But I'm just going to stick with the safe pick of 2-2, man. Just want to tell the viewers, man, we don't have any Panthers talk this week. Next week, we'll be very heavy on Panthers because it's the week before the draft, man. So no Panthers talk today, man. When Rodney comes back, we'll probably have a guest next week. I'm thinking we don't, we'll see about that. We'll have a bunch of Panther stuff next week, man. But wanted to throw in a culture topic this week, man. Unfortunately, we lost Black Rob yesterday, man, who former Bad Boy artist, man. And I'm seeing, I don't want to say a strange narrative, but I'm seeing a narrative online about the death of Black Rob, P. Diddy, and former Bad Boy artists. There's the list of it's like a bad boy curse, so to speak, of all the bad boy artists who are unfortunately dead or not doing that well or whatever. It's a strange question to ask, but I'm going to ask it, man. How much culpability how much is it to blame for P. Diddy? Does he deserve to be criticized? And tell me what you think, man.
Biggie Smalls dead, Shine, prison time, the Locks fighting legally to get out of their damn contract because they weren't getting paid. Black Rob dies broke and penniless. The pattern is there. Mace leaves and goes to God. He's like, fuck this. I'm going to. Then when his contract is up, then he seriously comes back into hip hop. Go figure. It's not. I mean, here's the thing about Puffy. We remember Puffy from the Biggie Smalls era because he was so ingrained in the ascension of Biggie Smalls.
Well, let's be clear. We remember Puffy from the Craig Mack era.
I was going to say, Puffy has been in the industry. Puff Daddy was one of the producers on LL Cool J's first album. That's all I mean. But Puffy is the industry that we remember as far as hip hop crossing over with pop. That was Puffy. Puffy is a businessman. He's like any other corporation. Bad Boy is. He's going to do whatever is best for his company at the expense of the people that work for him. That's not going to change. That's why Puffy is worth, $700-800 million. And then, all these people that raps for him are either dead or in jail or retired. That's just the reality of the situation. It's unfortunate. I'm not saying that Puffy is like an evil dude or whatever, but he's a businessman.
He's a capitalist like most record label CEOs are. And I was going to play devil's advocate, and then I actually thought through this, man. So here's a thought I want to share with you. So on one hand, I was going to ask, well, what makes Puffy any different from any other record exec or CEO or label owner or what have you? But then I threw myself a curveball and I asked myself this question. If it was a No Limit artist in the same situation, do you not think, well, Master P took care of his artists a lot better than Puffy did his artists? So it's just no coincidence that you don't see these same type of stories as much with the No Limit camp like you do the Bad Boy camp, or even the Death Row camp.
Yeah, even
not as much.
I'll say about No Limit and Death Row changed the industry business practice.
Right.
Puffy really did not. He was already in the industry. I mean, there were a lot of things Puffy revolutionized for hip hop, mainly the crossover appeal. Sampling these old songs and making hits out of them. That was a Puffy Bad Boy thing. But what No Limit did, regardless of what you think about their music, to their credit, they kind of built things from scratch, from the ground up.
They're a lot more organic, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, they had literally for 2 years they had an album release every week. Every week they had an album release. Their guy, and like Chris Rogers said, you sign Master P, you get a house, 2 cars, a bank account, and a gun. I mean, Master P took care of his guys, and you know what? Maybe that's the reason why Master P ran into these financial difficulties at some point in his career, because he wasn't hoarding all of the money.
Loyal to a fault, almost.
Yeah, actually, yeah, he was. Snoop's coming off of this terrible situation with Death Row. P buys out his contract. I mean, to literally give Suge Knight millions of dollars just free and clear so that you can sign Snoop Dogg, and then on top of that you give Snoop all of these things. I think that's why you don't see that with Master P, whereas Puffy is not buying out anybody's contract for them to come rap for him. He's not doing that. He's just not. So and I hate it for a guy like Black Rob, who is clearly talented but didn't get the same push. First of all, nobody got the same push that Biggie Smalls did.
Right.
And to be fair, Big was a special talent.
I mean, he was obviously Bad Boy's landmark artist. Right. That's obvious, right.
And so even guys, that came after him, like Mace, like Shine, who, as talented as Shine was, it's clear why he got the record deal he did, because he sounded just like Big. That was Puff being a capitalist. How can I cash in on this guy?
And not only being a capitalist, man, but we all remember the infamous Source Awards and what Suge Knight said about Diddy. He was basically alluding to the fact that if you want to come be an artist, come be an artist. But if you go to Bad Boy, it's going to be about Diddy. It ain't going to be about you. Absolutely. It's going to be about him.
I've always go ahead.
And I was just going to say, man, Bad Boy became so much about Diddy. And the very second his heart wasn't in Bad Boy anymore, wasn't even into making music because he has all these other business ventures going on, his artist suffered. You know what I mean? So forget your deals, forget how you're doing right now. I'm not worried about music right now. I'm doing me. And that's what Bad Boy was. It was Diddy's hit machine. It was Diddy's baby. But again, this is a guy who had other stuff going on too, man.
It's just weird to me that his ascension and Bad Boy's ascension came after Big died.
Right.
I know that Big and Puff were close. Okay. But the influence that Puff had on Big's career arc was undeniable. Big doesn't turn into a shiny suit rapper and do a track like Hypnotized without Puffy's
influence, right?
So I understand that they were close, and I'm certain that Puff was hurt, like we all were, when Big died. But after he died, the man drops 2 albums. Mace comes out. They're doing Bad Boy. I Know You Made Me Feel So Good. It was like hit after.
They got shit blown up in videos and
it was
$4 million videos.
It's almost like wow, bro, you really kind of profiting off your dude's death here. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Although Missing You is a great song, but it's like, I mean,
he definitely hammed it up, man.
That's why I fell off the motorcycle.
But anywho, man, we're up against it, man. Like I said, for the people watching, man, we'll be heavy on Panthers talk next week. Hopefully Rodney will be back from doing his Hollywood thing, man. Hopefully he doesn't like land an acting job or something out there, man. Anywho, man, Kaiser, you got any shout outs, shout ats, parting shots, anything?
I'm gonna give a shout to the Hurricanes, which we don't really give a whole lot of love to because they play in Raleigh. But
leaders in the Central Division, by the way.
Leaders in the Central Division, third best in the league as far as points. You could make the case that they're the best team in the league, even if they don't necessarily have the best collection of talent. I think they have some goaltending issues that they got to shore up. But man, it's good to at least have one team in the Carolinas.
Man,
going well, right?
It's rough around here, man.
Yeah. Charlotte, we can't have nothing nice, man.
I don't know what Queen Charlotte did back in the day, man.
Apparently, Sir Walter Raleigh was on the straight and narrow path. He was
great. Sir Walter Raleigh must have freed slaves or something, man. He was a great guy. But anyway, man, my only shout out, man, is again to the people in the chat room, man, to anybody watching, liking, sharing.
I think we forgot to post on YouTube. We forgot to stream to YouTube.
Rodney, I'm sorry for not posting on YouTube because I don't know how to do all that stuff. So that's why you can't miss too many games. Too many shows, man. So we'll get it right next week, man. But again, shout out to everybody watching, liking, sharing the page, man. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Next week we'll be back, hopefully full strength. We'll be a lot better. We'll be back on YouTube. But again, thank you for your time and see you next week, man.
Y'all take care.
Bro.
Yeah, man.